Good afternoon. I'm actually a little late on this one today. I got in late and had a pretty tight schedule this morning, so I figured I would just go live for today's Metta Contemplation, loving kindness practice for the week. It is Monday, Metta Monday. And so it actually worked out perfect because going into these things, it's not always easy to come up with things to talk about or contemplate. For this one, it fairly is, but something came across my timeline yesterday, and it might have even been this morning, that I wanted to shed some light on and perspective on. And I thought it was really cool because it went hand in hand with something that used to be hung up at a job that I used to have at the hotel. And at the hotel, it used to say, there was a part of this poster that said, treat everyone with kindness, even though, along the lines, right? Be kind to unkind people because they need it the most. And then somebody posted something that said, people are the hardest to love when they need it the most. People are the hardest to love when they need it the most. And I read that, and the way it was written, it was just kind of hard to, it was vague, but I felt it, right? I felt that, and it made so much sense, right? And it made sense because it's hard to love hurt people, because hurt people. Misery loves company, right? And the most hurt people oftentimes are the most miserable people, or they're oftentimes the ones projecting anger and frustration and impatience and intolerance, and oftentimes are irrational or short-tempered. And so it's hard to love somebody when they're in a constant state of being like that, right? When they're in a constant state of anger, when they're in a constant state of frustration, when they're in a constant state of trying to bring others down, when they're in a constant state of just general misery, right? It's really hard to love somebody like that. It's really hard to be kind to somebody like that. It's really difficult, and the more miserable they are, the more difficult it becomes, right? I mean, we all have our own fallacies, right? Oftentimes it's hard for us to practice patience. It's hard for us to practice tolerance and be kind and be loving and be considerate and understanding. And then add on top of it that the other person is just being hurtful, miserable, negative, right? It makes practicing those things and putting those things into, our life that much harder. And so, what do we do, right? How do we change our perspective? How do we go about addressing the situation, right? Because if we want to practice unconditional loving kindness, then the people that are behaving like this need our love and kindness too, right? Something that helps me through these situations, because you come across them a lot, and I used to be in customer service, and you come across a lot of people like this, unfortunately. And so, something that's always helped me, and even today when I come across people that are like this, is that understanding that these people who are like this, these miserable people, are usually hurt, right? I don't want to say damaged, because I don't believe anybody's broken, but a lot of them have experienced something in life that have kind of conditioned them to be this way. It could have been from childhood. It could have been from, their teenage years. It could have been from their adulthood, right? They could have been lied to, betrayed, let off their job. They could have, experienced some kind of hardship. They could have, lost a close family member, whatever it is. They experienced some kind of pain. And a lot of the times, the harsher the pain that they've experienced, the harsher the outcome. And if they're going on that negative route, the harsher the pain that they've experienced, the harsher the projection that they put out there into the world. And so that negativity becomes increasingly strong. And so what I try to remember is that the person who is being like that, the person who's being negative or hurtful or whatever it is, they're probably suffering, right? I have people that I talk to once in a while that have been called fat or a loser or anything along those lines, and I try to remind them that like the people that are like that, like they're not bad people, right? They're just in pain, and their outlet is to lash out at others because it makes them feel better, right? A lot of them have been bullied themselves, and so they bully others, so sort of as like a release of that pain. Misery loves company again, and so they try to bring others into that because they feel like if somebody's lower than them, then they can actually be on top. And so just trying to remember that whoever it is that's doing it, that's acting like that, they're probably hurting, right? They're probably in pain, they're probably suffering in some way. And so I look at them, and this is weird, but somebody else mentioned this too, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. But just imagining that person as kind of like a frightened child, right? Where they're in this world of unknown. They don't really know how to deal with their emotions. They don't really know how to, take control, right, of any of those things. And a lot of them they're just scared. They're scared of being hurt again. They're scared of experiencing that suffering again. They're scared of letting their walls down, because the last time they did, they might have been betrayed, they might have been hurt, right? So they're afraid of putting those walls down. They put up this image, right, of strength and brutality and all those things, so that nobody fucks with them again, so nobody hurts them again, so nobody tries to break them again, right? And so they have these barriers up, and it's all from fear. It's from fear of experiencing that same pain, or making the pain worse, experiencing something that's going to make the pain worse. A lot of people that don't want to lose anybody again because they've experienced incredible loss don't let people get close to them, right? And so it's the same thing with people that are hurt, people that are in pain. And so when we start looking at people like that, we can start expressing our compassion. We can start practicing our compassion, because we look at them, and instead of getting angry with them, we stop for a second. We say, hey, you know what? I know you're hurting. And you don't say this stuff out loud, but like you know what? You seem like somebody who's in a lot of pain. And instead of fighting with you, instead of arguing with you or letting you bring me down, because then it makes it personal, see that, and that's part of the trick, right? Is not taking everything so personal, right? When we understand that it's the other person's pain and suffering that's causing them to act like this, we can take ourselves completely out of the equation, right? It's not about me. Right? When somebody's attacking me to make themselves feel better, it's not really about me. It's about them. It's about the pain that they're trying to project so that they feel better. So it's about them. None of it has anything to do with me. Okay? And so when I take myself out of the equation, I can look at them with a sense of compassion and say, you know what? I want you to heal. I want you to be better. I want you to find love. I want you to heal those wounds. I want you to, find peace and happiness. And approaching it like that is just, it's amazing, right? And it's rewarding. And so once we take ourselves out of the equation, it's easy not to get mad, it's easy not to get angry, and then we can focus on what really matters, and that's expressing our love and kindness unconditionally to the people that actually need it the most, right? Not everybody deserves it, everybody deserves it, but the people that are in pain, the people that are expressing that pain, really fucking need it. Okay? And so the worse a person seems, this is where that quote comes in, right? People are the hardest to love when they need it the most. This is where that comes in, right? The people that are the most miserable, they're the ones that really need the love. They're the ones that your kindness could really make a difference towards. The people that already have hope and faith and are happy and joyous, right? They need love and kindness too, right? Because that's just going to further encourage the way that they already think. But the people that don't know, they need it, right? And so what does it hurt if somebody's attacking you to just step back and say, hey, you know what? It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. I love you anyways. And just show them that. And just show them that it's possible to be unconditionally loving and kind, even in the face of misery. Right? Be kind to unkind people because they need it the most. Same thing. Back to that quote. These people, right? They really just need a hug. Okay? I don't recommend just going around hugging miserable strangers because that might not end well, but a spiritual hug, perhaps, an emotional hug, right? Smiling at people that just look angry. There's all sorts of things that we can do to express that love and kindness. And, you know, I consider it an opportunity to come across people like that because it really does. It tests what we're really trying to do. Because if we are really trying to develop that love unconditionally, then we need to be put in situations that are going to test that to see if that's really what we want. And I'm tested constantly, right? With my patience, with my tolerance, with my love and my kindness, right? Because I come across people like that all the time that test all those things. But without those experiences, I wouldn't be able to further my development in them, right? I wouldn't know I wouldn't know where I'm lacking. So if I come across an angry person who says something that I snap at, right? That's a weakness on my end that I need to look at and further develop, right? Because if I'm not being kind to unkind people just because they're being unkind to me, then somewhere my process, my program is lacking, right? I'm not doing something to develop what I want to develop, which is unconditional love and kindness. And so we get to look at that. And then I get tested again. And that's another opportunity to change the course of somebody's life. Change the course of my life, to change the course of their life, right? You never know when somebody really needs you just to put on a smile and say, everything's going to be okay, right? You never know. What I do know is that negativity has never breeded anything else besides negativity. The only way to combat that is through love. And that's it. That's what I got for you. So today, just be kind. Love everybody. Even when they're miserable and angry and yelling at you. When it's the hardest, practice. Guys, take care. I'll talk to you again soon.